The new year is upon us, and the most important question you should be asking yourself about 2025 is, where am I going to go next? Lucky for you, the creators here at Travel Lemming have you covered. Our freshly released list of the top 50 places to travel in 2025 is out, and it's entirely created by humans like you and me. No AI-generated numbers, ideas, topics, or anything of the sort. This is our biggest collaborative project of the year, where we handpick the 50 best places around the world that our team has actually been to. Today, we have a very special episode entirely dedicated to this project. Our local and expert writers from across the globe are going to give you their pitches for where, when, and why you should travel in the new year. So stay tuned and get ready to add a whole bunch of incredible places to your 2025 travel bucket list. Check out the article on travellemming.com or search Best Places to Travel Lemming on any search engine to read this amazing list. And get excited because we're unlocking a whole new world for you today on the Travel Lemming podcast. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Betty Hurd. I'm joined by my co-host, Nate Hake. Hi, Nate. How are you doing today?
Hi, Betty. Happy to be here. I'm coming to you from Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I recently got to. And I've spent the last few days, as have you, interviewing different members from the Travel Lemming team. We've got something of a special podcast here, which is appropriate because this article that we're talking about, our list of places to travel in 2025, is our most special article every year. It's really the annual list that helped build the Travel Lemming brand, going back all the way to 2018. It's a really important project that we do. And what's cool about it is that it brings together all of the dozens of different creators that we have all around the world, our local and expert guides, to give their recommendations for places to travel. And this is the first year that we have the podcast, because as you all know, we're on our first season of the podcast. And the idea came to us a couple of weeks ago, like, maybe it would be a good idea to have a podcast version of that article and to bring everyone on. And it has been quite a lot of work to bring everyone in and to interview them all. But I think it's really cool. And I think this will make for a fun episode because you're going to get to see faces from around the Travel Lemming team, including some that you've seen in prior episodes, if you watch some of our prior episodes. But we have a lot more experts who are really fun and each bring their own unique perspectives and experience. And so you're going to get a taste of not only all these awesome destinations, but also all the amazing human beings who really make Travel Lemming what it is. So it's going to be a bit of a different format of an episode, but I think it'll be really cool. And hopefully we can help, inspire people to find somewhere to travel in 2025.
Yes, I'm so excited for viewers to get to meet the team. And Nate, for those who aren't familiar with Travel Lemming, can you tell us more about this special project and how our team came up with this list?
Yeah, sure. So every year, we skipped 1 year during the pandemic, but every year since 2018, we put out a list of places to travel. And we used to call it emerging destinations because we were really focused, and we still are focused, primarily on those underrated places, those hidden gems, the places that are a little bit less well known. And we would put out a list of places to travel that, we call the 50 best places to travel in the coming year. But every best of list is ultimately subjective. What's unique about ours is that they're places that we've been to, places that we love and really think deserve more love than they are getting. It's our most popular article on Travel Lemming every single year. It's a ton of work. We start working on it in the summer, and then we release it at the end of the year, just in time for the new year. It requires efforts from every single person on Travel Lemming. There are dozens of people who collaborate on this. We have all of our creators provide submissions for places that they think deserve an entry on the list. It's sort of a competition. We get significantly more entries than we have space for on the list. The entries are then judged by our editorial panel, which consists of myself, our managing editor, Leah Rose, our editors, Abigail, Chelsea, Elizabeth, our marketing director, Taylor, and also our two special board members who have been on our board for several years, Marty and Rach from the blog Very Hungry Nomads. They're just like two of the most incredible travelers I've met, and I've met a lot of amazing travelers. They have recently completed a visit to every single country in the world. So they've literally been to every country on the planet, and they help us, along with the rest of our editorial board, to decide what destinations, what entries are the most compelling, the most striking, and then we order it based upon the votes from that editorial board. Of course, like I said, all of these lists are subjective. There are hundreds of destinations that you could say should be the number one place to travel. As we said in episode 1, ultimately what matters is what's important to you. And you shouldn't allow yourself to give travel FOMO because of some list that folks put out. But the idea behind this is to inspire you to maybe think about some destinations that you didn't know about and most importantly, to share our personal experience and all the wonderful perspectives of the folks in the Travel Lemming team. And so we put together this list. We release it every year around the end of the year, November, December. It typically actually gets quite a lot of press coverage. I mean, we have appeared in dozens of newspapers in countries all over the world. I think we've been on every continent except for Antarctica, of course. And a couple of days ago, Taylor was on NBC radio to talk about this. We've had creators go on television to talk about this. It has been covered in a variety of publications, and it really generates a lot of interest in the brand. It is what has helped to build us the brand every year. We just put in as much effort as we can to try to make the best article we possibly can. I really encourage everyone to go read this article as you're listening to the podcast, or to just go read it and save it for later, because there's a lot more information about each one of these destinations than we really will have time for in this podcast. You can find it by going to your favorite search engine and just search Travel Lemming 2025 or Travel Lemming Places to Travel or Travel Lemming, whatever the name of the destination is that you're interested in the podcast. And then that will pull up the article, and there's tons of info in there. I encourage you to click. There's all these drop down menus and things. It's truly a massive article. So we have to kind of condense some of it down in there. But we hope you like it. We certainly love these places. And every year when we put this out, a few months will go by and then we'll get comments from readers who have discovered some new, really cool corner of the world that they didn't know about before. And I always really like it when it's someplace that I like, because very often, we're just sharing our own little personal finds. And it's so one of the best things about this job is helping people find somewhere that they wouldn't have otherwise found. So that's the goal for the podcast. We're going to have on our whole team. It's a bit of a new format for us. So let us know what you think with everyone, but we're going to go through and have everyone tell us about their favorite places, about a minute or two apiece.
Yes, and I wanted to touch on the theme of this year's introduction to the list, which is AI. And you wrote to reject AI travel planners and get your recommendations from actual humans. You also gave an honest warning about how corporate billionaires like the Google CEO and OpenAI CEO want to, quote, use AI slop to replace not only travel blogs like ours, but also the thing that makes travel truly great, which is the human experience. So you recommend to resist becoming AI lemmings and in 2025 to travel like a human. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, sure. So, I think as everyone knows, the big trend of the last year has been the rise of artificial intelligence chatbots. And this really impacts travel bloggers in a significant way. You may have seen this when, for instance, if you go to Google, they're now starting to put these like little AI summaries in the search results. So if you search for any sort of travel advice, you'll get like a little AI written blog post. What that is doing is it is taking information from blogs like ours, and it is combining it together and providing it to you right there on Google. The thing about that, though, is that it dramatically reduces the number of people who click through to actually read blogs. And so then there isn't really much of an incentive for us to, or other blogs, to create that content, because it's very expensive to go out and visit these places, to hire all these teams. And the way that, unfortunately, these tech companies are sort of approaching AI is that they're not really including the actual content creators that they are summarizing in this whole process. They are also trying to sell these AI travel planning apps. You might have seen ads for them on Instagram. There are tons of them. I think you'll see a lot more of this in 2025, where a lot of these big tech companies will want you to plan your trip with an application, and they'll maybe just put it right within your phone. I mean, Google was talking about doing it with Android. It wouldn't surprise me if Apple did this with Apple Intelligence, where you just tell it a little bit about your trip and the AI plans the whole trip for you. The problem is that because of the way AI works, is it's not truly intelligent. You just show it a bunch of content, and then it's basically like one of those word predictors. It's just predicting what is the next most probable token based upon all of the information that it's been trained on, including blogs like ours. And so what it means is that it will, by the very nature of these AI generators, it will put out whatever is the most average thing, because whatever appears the most in the training data set. And the challenge with that is that when you're looking for travel recommendations, do you really want to travel to the average of everybody's recommendations? And then what happens when that is the thing that is shown to everyone else? It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle where everyone is traveling to the same places. I think it's bad for users in the end. It may be quicker because you get your information with one fewer click, but it will also over time kind of remove that incentive to create. And it's been such a problem that I was actually invited out by Google along with 19 other creators. I visited Google a month and a half ago to talk about a bunch of issues about the way that Google is treating bloggers, including AI. And I grilled one of their vice presidents of search about this, and he didn't really have a good answer. His suggestion was maybe we should learn to use AI to write our blogs, which I completely pushed back on. And I said, no, I think the best thing about travel lemming is our humans. So, I think really what it comes down to is, do people want human perspectives? Do they want the advice of other humans for travel or not? I was just in the world travel market in London, and I met with dozens of my blogger friends there, and everybody is facing the same issues. We need our audiences to, if you want us to continue creating the kind of content that we're creating, we need you to directly seek it out in order to support it, or else simply the business model won't exist anymore. And I think that is a lot more fun when you get your travel recommendations from a real human, because an AI cannot visit a place. It cannot see, taste, smell, or know what it is like to be there. It can't give you real honest impressions because it cannot know, it cannot travel. You would never accept travel advice from a human who had never been to that place. Why would you accept it from a robot who by definition cannot have been to that place? And so this year, we're just really pointing that out to folks in the introduction. You can read through the introduction I wrote for a little bit more context on this. And you're going to see all the wonderful humans on this podcast who put in a ton of work over the course of months to put together not only this article, but all of the guides that we have on travel lemming. And so ultimately, it's up to you, the readers, to decide what it is you want and what it is that you want to support. So anyway, with that, I think this will be a fun way to highlight all of the amazing humans behind travel lemming, and most importantly, to hopefully help all of you discover some great places to travel in 2025.
Yes, and seriously, our team is so knowledgeable about all these places. After having the pleasure of interviewing so many people, they really know their stuff. So I think that you're really going to enjoy this episode.
Yeah, so speaking of that, let's go ahead and dive into the list. So the way this is going to work is Betty or I are going to read out the name real quick of the list, and then we are going to dive right into the summary of the interview that we did with the creator who submitted that. So you'll see different creators pop up. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll get to see their faces. If you're listening, we'll announce their name for each one. So Travel Lemming's #1 destination for 2025 is Lombok, Indonesia, which was submitted by Laura McFarland.
Lombok is an island in the Indonesian archipelago. It's the island right to the east of Bali, but it feels worlds away from the hectic streets of Bali. It has something for all types of travelers. If you're a budget traveler, you can stay in hostels for $10 a night, but there's plenty of upscale resorts as well that are still very affordable. I spent 3 weeks in Lombok, and it was truly one of the best experiences of my life. I climbed to the top of Mount Rinjani, the second tallest volcano in Indonesia. I worked on a sailboat and sailed down the west coast of Lombok. I got to party on places like Gili Trawangan and snorkel with sea turtles in Gili Air. I rode my motorbike all around Kuta and swam in this incredibly warm turquoise water. Just had an amazing time all around. Travel Lemming's #1 place to visit in 2025 is Lombok because it has some of the most incredible beaches you'll ever see in your life, beautiful volcanoes that you can hike, tons of wildlife, a really vibrant culture, and tons of variety in places to stay for all price points.
For more on Lombok, Indonesia, Laura and I had a full interview, which you can check out in our previous episode. And it was a great time getting to talk to her about her time spent there and all of the ins and outs of Lombok. Definitely check out that episode once you finish listening to this one. #2, El Calafate, Argentina, submitted by Clara Kessler.
The Calafate is a small city in the end of the world located in Patagonia, Argentina. If you love adventure, if you love nature, you need to visit. This place is famous for glaciers, but the most famous is the Perito Moreno. One thing that makes famous this glacier is close to the road, so you can visit in your car or you can take a bus with a tour. I think the 2025 will be the really good time for visit because historically the glacier was growing every year, but this year it started to stop. With time, the glaciers start to disappear. If you go, you can see how the glacier start to break up and crash in the river and make the beautiful sound. The sound like a really huge storm. I think it's the most beautiful natural show that I see in my life. Take your camera and go to visit and go up to the Glacier Perito Moreno for the best landscape in your life.
Next up at #3, we have County Kerry in Ireland. And remember, you can go listen to episode 3 of the Travel Lemming podcast for a much more in-depth interview with Abigail all about her trip through Ireland.
I chose County Kerry after going on a 10-day road trip through Ireland and just found that County Kerry is, in my opinion, the most scenic region of the Emerald Isle. So it's located in the southwest corner of the country. And unlike a lot of other regions in Ireland that maybe are known for rolling green hills and its countryside in that regard, County Kerry is actually very mountainous. And I was really surprised at just the dramatic peaks that I was driving through the Ring of Kerry and the Wild Atlantic Way. And then you come along the coastal side of County Kerry and you discover the Dingle Peninsula, which in my opinion, the cliff views there rival that of the nearby Cliffs of Moher, which are just iconic. But in my opinion, County Kerry just offers a really local feel and also just some really unique heritage. I also think that, it's also something that can be appreciated by just the general traveler. There's a lot of really great scenic drives. So even if you don't necessarily have the ability, you can take advantage of that scenery and admire those views. And I also think it's well suited for history enthusiasts. There's just a lot of culture and local heritage in that region that's just really fascinating and differs from maybe some of the other more major destinations in Ireland. Don't forget to check out episode 3, where Nate and Abigail get into an in-depth conversation about her 10-day road trip through Ireland. Up next at number 4, Yoho National Park, Canada, submitted by Taylor Herberger.
So, Yoho National Park is located in southeastern British Columbia, Canada, in the Rocky Mountains, only an hour from Banff, but I like to think of it as a more serene alternative. So, it has a fraction of the tourists, and because of that, it has a fraction of the cost. Here, you can find turquoise glacier lakes, cozy chalets, waterfalls, and dense forests. So I recommend visiting a couple times a year depending on your travel style. So winter is really great. I love winter. I love winter hiking. So March and early April are perfect times of year for visiting. However, if you like a little bit warmer weather, then summer is definitely one of the best times to visit. From June to August specifically, Yoho National Park warms right up. One of my favorite places in Yoho National Park is actually Wapta Falls. So my brother and I went here most recently in March, and it was a gorgeous winter wonderland. We were hiking in snow the whole way, so we had our crampons on. But Wapta Falls is just this gorgeous waterfall, and we had it all to ourselves. So in the background, we had these gorgeous woods, and then there was this beautiful glacier lake, snowy waterfalls. It was just one of the most beautiful spots I've ever been in my life.
At number 5, we have Lalibela, Ethiopia, which was submitted by Rach of Very Hungry Nomads. And she says that this town in the northern Amhara region is a splendor of ancient engineering and spirituality. Visit to explore stunning rock churches that were carved directly into the mountains more than 800 years ago. She also goes to talk about how some of these are churches that date back to the 13th century and that there are some really incredible UNESCO World Heritage sites in Lalibela.
At number 6, we have El Nido, Philippines, submitted by our very own Nate Hake.
El Nido is a small beach town on the northern tip of the island of Palawan in the Philippines, which makes it relatively affordable, and it's home to some of the most beautiful, stunning turquoise water I've ever seen. The city itself is situated along this small bay, and it's just absolutely stunning. And if that's all there was this beautiful bay and this beautiful beach, that would be worth a visit in itself. But the main reason to go there is that El Nido is the launching point to take these boat tours that will take you out exploring as you island hop through the largest marine reserves in the Philippines. They just call them tours A, B, C, and D, which is easy enough to remember. And each of the tours takes you to a different island, but they're all stunning. I mean, picture these lagoons that are where you can kayak and snake between soaring limestone cliffs. You've got all sorts of different species of birds and animals and corals. So if you are someone who just wants that perfect tropical vibes, you're definitely going to get that in El Nido. And it is a fantastic place to visit in 2025. At number 7 is Kazbegi, Georgia, submitted by Marty of Very Hungry Nomads. Kazbegi is a region in Georgia that offers breathtaking mountain views with stunning landscapes at every turn, warm Georgian hospitality, and hearty home-style dishes, she says. And I have to agree with that. I've been to Kazbegi, and it is one of my favorite places in my favorite country on the planet.
Number 8, Exmouth, Australia, also submitted by Marty of Very Hungry Nomads. She says this small coastal town in Western Australia is a nature lover's paradise and renowned for its proximity to the Ningaloo Reef, one of the largest fringing coral reefs in the world. She goes on to talk about the crystal clear waters where you can swim with whale sharks and manta rays, camping in the park, relaxing by the water, snorkeling, and exploring the scenic terrain on foot.
At number 9, Ha Giang, Vietnam, submitted by Sky.
So Ha Giang is a region that's located at the very north of Vietnam, almost at the border with China. And it's mainly known for this big motorbike loop. It's about 200 miles long, and it is the ultimate activity for adrenaline junkies. It takes a few days to complete. Usually people do it in about 2 or 3 days. I did it in 3 full days, top to bottom. And each night along the way, you'll stop at these adorable little towns with homestays and local families. It was a really cool way to get in touch with the local culture. Don't make the Ha Giang route your first time on a motorbike. It will not work out well. If you're going to drive it yourself, practice beforehand. And if you don't want to drive it yourself, there's also options for that. You can hire a local to go with you. People come from all over the world to do this motorbike trip specifically because the landscapes are so gorgeous and out of this world. And even after traveling all over the world at this point, Ha Giang was still probably the most naturally beautiful place I've ever seen. Number 10, Vega, Baja, Puerto Rico, submitted by Vanessa.
Outlook-loving travelers should definitely pick Vega Baja as a destination, and they should include it in a trip to Puerto Rico. I've been to Vega Baja quite a few times. It's a coastal town, has mesmerizing beaches, like some of the best in Puerto Rico. Vega Baja actually has the largest spring in Puerto Rico. It has a historical town. It has caves, rivers, a local crowd, which actually means you can mingle with locals, you can get to know locals, you can enjoy a local atmospheres. And if you rather step away from the coast and stay dry, the downtown Tua Baja has lots of museums and colonial buildings and structures to explore. There's a lot of cute coffee shops too. If you have to work, if you're working remotely, Vega Baja has a place for you. So travelers planning to visit Vega Baja should take into consideration that rivers in Puerto Rico are really prone to flash floods. So although we love visiting these outdoors destinations, it's really important to keep an eye out for the weather. And overall, regardless of what you do, you won't get bored in this city.
Number 11, Rach of Very Hungry Nomads, tells us about Upolu Island in Samoa. She says, choose your own adventure and snorkel, dive, surf, or explore striking natural beauty through scenic hikes, stunning beaches, and cultural villages. She calls it a dream destination for vacationers looking to disconnect.
At number 12, Austin, Texas, submitted by Taylor.
Austin, Texas isn't exactly off the beaten trail. I mean, it is the capital city of Texas. However, it is one of the best places to visit in the world for live music. I'm a huge live music fan, and Austin delivered and then some. Here you'll be able to find a ton of music venues. The city is also very eclectic. Their slogan is Keep Austin Weird After All. So it's honestly awesome for people watching or to get into more of the artsy scene. There's a ton to discover there as far as arts and music and culture goes. The food scene here is awesome. I mean, I don't need to sell you on Texas food. However, it's especially great because of the barbecue. They really take their barbecue seriously, as well as the food truck scene. Of course, there were lines because they're that popular and that good, but that goes to show just how awesome the food truck scene is in Austin. If you're looking for more nature in Austin, of course, there's that too. I recommend watching the bats under the South Congress Bridge, especially if you're traveling with your family. That's a really cool thing to see. I recommend going over to McKinney Falls State Park if you end up visiting in the summer or if it's just really hot outside, because it is hot in Austin a lot of the year. This is a great spot to cool off with a little bit of a dip.
Number 13, Nazca, Peru, by Luis.
So Nazca is both a region and a city in southern Peru. Nazca lines are located just outside of the city of Nazca. These are some huge geological formations in the desert which were formed by ancient Nazcan people around 2,000 years ago. These are huge figures of animals and shapes and lines which can travel from hundreds of miles in the desert and which can mostly be seen from the air. So most people who travel to Nazca will go for the city of Nazca and for the Nazcan lines in the desert. When I visited Nazca, I took a tourist flight over the Nazcan lines. So this was about an hour and a half long trip. And the plane actually was only an 8-seater plane. Explorers would love to visit Nazca. This is quite off the beaten track. It's a natural wonder of the world. And anyone who likes to really get into the heart of a country to see things which aren't immediately on the travel destination list, which are a bit undercover, would love to go to Nazca.
14, Tokyo, Japan, submitted once again by our own Nate Hake.
Tokyo, Japan is one of those destinations that really needs no introduction. It's the world's largest metropolis and also one of its most historic and significant cities. And sure, it's probably been on your list for a while, but if you've been waiting to take a trip to Tokyo, now's really the best time to do it. And the reason for that is that the Japanese yen is at a historic low against the US dollar, which means effectively right now, if you go, you're getting something in the neighborhood of a 30% discount in dollar terms as compared to what that same trip would have cost you a few years ago. Tokyo is one of those places that blends ancient history and yet somehow is living in the future at the same time. It's a perfect place to visit, whether you're into nightlife or culture or food. Tokyo really has it all. Of course, there's lots of great day trips. A famous one is to go out and explore Mount Fuji, but you also have a city that sort of never sleeps, that has an endless variety of restaurants and shops and nightlife options. So if Tokyo has been on your bucket list, 2025 really is one of the best years to plan a trip there and to Japan more generally. At number 15, Chelsea tells us about Rochester, New York.
So Rochester is a city in upstate New York. It's right near Lake Ontario, and this is a mid-sized industrial city. It's got a lot of interesting history, festivals, and a lack of crowds. So I think that history buffs will definitely love Rochester. It has the Susan B. Anthony Museum. Rochester is also the birthplace of the modern women's rights movement. So you have a lot of history there. You also have the George Eastman Museum, where you can learn about the history of film and photography. I spent my childhood there. And as a child, there's a lot there. There's the Strong National Museum of Play. There's Seabreeze and Six Flags. And there's, of course, Lake Ontario, which is a big draw as well. Summertime is the best time to go to Rochester. You have the Lilac Festival, and you have the International Jazz Fest. And Rochester also has a really great, unpretentious bar scene. There's lots of really great food. Make sure you try a garbage plate. It's the Rochester delicacy that you have to try. It's hamburger meat, the red or white hots, which is like hot dog, macaroni salad, home fries. It is kind of like a mash of things, but just it goes together perfectly when you have it.
At 16, we have Warsaw, Poland, submitted by Matthew.
So Warsaw is the capital of Poland, and it's located pretty centrally in the country. Warsaw is special because you wouldn't know it, but in World War II, it was almost completely leveled with just a handful of buildings still standing, and those also were not unscathed. So walking around today, it rivals any major European city that didn't suffer the same fate in World War II. There's skyscrapers, and there's historic buildings which were rebuilt, and yet it feels authentic. I would recommend Warsaw to anybody who loves, for example, classical music, because it's the birthplace of Friedrich Chopin. So whenever you're in Warsaw, you're always surrounded by something that has to do with Chopin. There's daily concerts of his music in some of the cathedrals in the Old Town area. Warsaw is a great place for World War II history buffs because there are several museums. You can buy, artifacts from World War II at local antique stores. Warsaw is a great place to go for a budget traveler because it's very affordable. Warsaw is also a great place to go as a solo traveler because it's very safe for a major urban city. And Warsaw is also a fantastic place for foodies to go because you have a very rich culinary heritage there. You have all kinds of different, very good, very delicious, very filling dishes that probably haven't heard of because Polish cuisine isn't the most well-known in America.
Next up at number 17, Page, Arizona, submitted by Betty.
So Page is a town of about 7,000 people in northern Arizona, right on the border with Utah. And it's a special place because it's located within minutes of some of the most notable geological wonders in the entire Southwest, not just in Arizona. For example, Horseshoe Bend, which is a meander of the Colorado River where the river goes around this big rock formations to make the shape of a horseshoe, obviously hence the name. And also the red winding slot canyons of Antelope Canyon, Rainbow Bridge National Monument, which is one of the world's largest natural bridges. And Page is also situated right next to Lake Powell, which is the most gorgeous lake in Arizona, in my opinion. All of these incredible geologic formations and outdoor attractions make it a photographer's heaven. So Page is a fantastic destination for really anybody who enjoys the great outdoors. Families can explore with their little kids, couples can go on a romantic getaway, hikers and canyoneers are going to have an absolute field day there. It's like a dream. It feels like another world. There's no place like Page, and I think everyone will be forever changed by its beauty. Matthew tells us about Juneau, Alaska, number 18.
So Juneau is in the southeastern arm of Alaska. It's the third largest city, with a population of a little over 30,000. It's also the state capital. And one unique thing about Juneau is that you can only get there by taking a boat or a plane. Juneau is definitely worth visiting if you love nature, because the landscapes are stunningly beautiful. There is the mountains, the ocean, there's emerald green forests, there's lots of trails to hike on in the area. You can see the Mendenhall Glacier, which is this huge glacier coming down out of the mountains. There's also Nugget Falls, which is a waterfall that is pretty unique in that it comes down more diagonally instead of vertically. So you really see this huge torrent of water rushing down out of the mountains. And there's a lot of history there, whether it's the native Alaskan culture or Alaska's frontier history with the gold rush. You can even pan for gold at one of the local creeks. And it's a great place to go for some seafood and Alaska's best craft beer. Overall, Juneau is a great place to go for anybody who loves nature.
Number 19, submitted by Brooke, is Montreal, Canada.
Montreal is definitely a taste of Europe without having to leave North America. Montreal is a city located in French Canada, so in the region of Quebec. And I would also label it as the foodie capital of Canada because they're very well known for having a great culinary scene. So Montreal is somewhere that is very diverse in terms of arts and culture. They have a lot of really great museums to visit. They have a lot of great restaurants that are really trendy. And they also have the Old Port, which is what they're really well known for as well, with a Ferris wheel, cobblestone street. Montreal is definitely a destination for travelers that are looking for a city break, but are also fascinated by arts and culture. I visited Montreal for the first time when I was in my early 20s with a group of girlfriends. So some of the highlights that we really enjoyed were going to explore the local markets, visiting the Old Port, hiking Mount Royal, and definitely eating our weight in all of the culinary delights in the city.
Once again, we have Matthew at number 20 talking about Butte, Montana.
So Butte is in southwestern Montana, and what makes it special is that it's got a lot of history, especially if you're into the history of the Old West. You know, it used to be a huge mining boom town, and there are a lot of speakeasies in town, and even today you can tour some of the old speakeasies. There's even a bar in one of the local historical hotels that is speakeasy themed. Butte is at over 6,000 feet elevation, so when you first get to Butte, there's a good possibility you might have a little elevation sickness. It is surrounded by gorgeous Montana country, the rolling high grasslands, and you really feel this sense of adventure. There's a lot of character. It's just this cozy little small town. Also a great place for anybody that loves Irish music because they have a big Irish festival every August.
At number 21, Rachel submits Strasbourg, France.
Strasbourg's in the Alsace region of eastern France. It's on the border with Germany. And that's part of what makes it special. It's gone back and forth between Germany and France for hundreds of years, obviously now well settled in France. But that history of the two countries is so visible in every street that you'll see in Strasbourg, making it this fascinating mesh of cultures. When you're in Strasbourg, you see the history on every street. It has everything from half-timbered houses to these idyllic canals. You can pop into any number of small niche museums to learn about different aspects of the city's rich history, or just wander around winding cobblestone streets and get a sense of that history for yourself. It's also a great place to go if you're a wine lover because it puts you very close to some great districts for wine, both in France and in Germany. I think a lot of people think of Strasbourg as a winter city because it's famous for its Christmas markets. And to be totally honest, it did too until I visited in spring and summer. And as a canal city, Strasbourg is gorgeous year round.
22, we have Douro Valley, Portugal, submitted by Chelsea.
So the Douro Valley is up toward northern Portugal, and it's most well known for being the birthplace of Port, which is the country's famous dessert wine. So I often say if you're going to Porto and you want to try the Port, you could also go to the Douro Valley and you can try it where it's made and you can see the vineyards where it's made. So definitely wine connoisseurs should pick the Douro Valley. I also think couples who want a romantic place because it's got that air of romance. And a lot of Portugal is very laid back and low key in general, but I found it was even more so here. As for tips for the Douro Valley, I would definitely say to Do a tour where you can try a ton of port wine. I would also say if you are driving and this is a place where you will need a car, you do want to be careful on some of the windy roads if you're somebody who gets driving anxiety because the roads are pretty narrow. And I think this is kind of an underrated destination in Portugal.
And number 23, Katie tells us about Universal Orlando Resort in Florida.
Universal Orlando is a theme park destination in Central Florida. It opened in 1990 with one theme park, but has now grown to have two theme parks, a water park, several hotels, entertainment, shopping, dining, really everything you could need. And in 2025, they will be opening their third theme park called Epic Universe. It'll be bringing some really cool lands like the Universal Monsters in Dark Universe, How to Train Your Dragon, Super Nintendo World, and even more Harry Potter coming to Universal. This is a great destination for anyone who likes theme parks. I know they're not for everybody, but if you like thrill rides, fun characters, meet and greets, things like that, Universal is perfect. It's very similar to Disney, except I'd say it tends to lean towards an older crowd, so older children and adults. It is going to be a full vacation destination now. You'll be able to spend an entire week doing all the fun things that Universal has to offer.
At 24, Laura tells us about the Yasawa Islands in Fiji.
The Yasawa Islands are an island chain off of the main island in Fiji. So for anyone who doesn't know, Fiji has over 300 islands, but I think the Yasawa Islands are the best place to visit in Fiji. They're incredibly beautiful. They have turquoise, clear water. They have stunning accommodation options, and they're really affordable and easy to get to. I think that Fiji is genuinely for every type of traveler. It has something for everyone. If you like snorkeling, you're going to see the most incredible coral reefs you'll ever see in your entire life. If you like hiking, you could hike all the way around these beautiful islands. And it's also very affordable, so it's great for budget travelers too. There are hostels on the islands that you can stay at for something like $20 a night. And there's also really amazing upscale luxury resorts that you can stay at as well. It's a really, really wonderful place to relax, get off the beaten path, and just experience an amazing culture.
25, Portland, Oregon, submitted by Leah Rose.
So Portland is located in northwestern Oregon, right on the border of Washington along the Columbia River. Portland has a reputation for being a really weird, funky, quirky, offbeat city, but then also it's surrounded by all of this incredible nature and dramatic scenery like the Columbia River Gorge. Mount Hood isn't too far away, and then the coast isn't that far away either. If you're visiting Portland, I would definitely recommend renting a car. I think it's kind of a necessity. So a lot of different travelers can enjoy Portland, I think. Primarily, I would say outdoor enthusiasts and outdoor adventurers, as well as just people with kind of like a hippie, earthy vibe and young travelers. I think there's kind of something to appeal to everybody. You know, eating at really great local restaurants, Luk Lak Vietnamese Kitchen, this awesome coffee shop, Calafate coffee shop that I went to. It's Filipino, which was really delicious. And I did some of the best thrift shopping I've ever done in my life. There's a lot to be seen and experienced.
At 26, we have Rach from Very Hungry Nomads with Bohol, Philippines. She says this scenic central province is all about natural wonders and unique wildlife. Its white sand beaches, turquoise waters, and serene rivers make it an exciting getaway for nature lovers and adventurous travelers. She says that it's truly a unique experience gliding by boat through the glowing Abatan River, which becomes lit by fireflies at night.
Next up at number 27, Betty tells us about Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates.
Abu Dhabi is the capital city of the United Arab Emirates, and it's actually located on an island on the west coast of the country in the Persian Gulf. So the UAE is located in the Middle East, and it's on the Arabian Peninsula. It's a very dry landscape, lots of sand dunes that meet the sea. Arid, it's very hot, it's very, very pretty. Abu Dhabi is super special because it offers a lot of ancient culture right up against modern architecture and attraction. So you get this futuristic yet historic city that offers so many different things to do. Lots of cultural learning opportunities like visiting the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque, which was one of my favorite things I've ever done anywhere, and the Al Hosn, which is the city's oldest building. And then they also have Ferrari World and the Louvre, like so many different things you get to do. So it's really for everyone. And it's only a 2-hour drive from Dubai. So Dubai's, very modern, flashy, just absolutely buzzing with energy. But Abu Dhabi has a very stoic kind of energy to it. So it's really easy to hit both cities and see what they both have to offer. But Abu Dhabi just offers a little bit more of a cultural experience, in my opinion. At number 28, Brooke tells us about Copenhagen, Denmark.
Copenhagen is a very vibrant city located in the Scandinavian region of Europe. I visited Copenhagen a couple years ago with my cousin, and we had a great time exploring the local food market, visiting Christianaville, which is a kind of hippie commune type place, going on the canal tour, and eating our weight in pastries. One of my top tips for visiting Copenhagen would be to do the canal tour. So they have this great tour that runs along the canals, and it's a great way to see all of the architecture around the city and learn about the history of Copenhagen, and also see the iconic Little Mermaid statue. Copenhagen is a city filled with sophistication, but in a trendy and relaxed way. Whether you're an architectural fiend or a craft beer fan, there's a little something for everyone in the heart of this charming city.
Number 29, Bergen, Norway, submitted by Katie.
Bergen, Norway is on the west coast of the country. It is a port town, and it is one of my favorite places that I've ever been in Europe. I consider it a Goldilocks city. It's not too big, not too small. It's well known enough, but not overly popular. And there is just so much to see around that area. You have the historic sites, but modern amenities. I love the hiking and overlooks from the surrounding mountains. You can go see stave churches. It's the perfect European city, in my opinion. I think Bergen is perfect for travelers who like to take things a little slower, really take their time in a city and explore, live like the locals sometimes, grabbing coffee in the morning, walking through the historic seaport, things like that. There are so many outdoor, beautiful environments just outside the city, and the public transportation makes it very easy to get out there. There is a ton of history and beautiful historic sites while having modern amenities as well.
At number 30, Shanghai, China, submitted by Sarah.
Sarah says that Shanghai is an international mega city, home to ancient culture, world-class food, and a variety of experiences. She recommends the Bund, a waterfront historic district, as well as visiting Shanghai's Disneyland Park, which is a must if you want to visit all 12 Disney theme parks around the world. And number 31, Sky tells us about Kyoto, Japan.
Kyoto is about 2.5 hours west of Japan's capital city of Tokyo if you're riding on the bullet train, which is the way that most people will get there. It was once the capital of Japan, but today it remains one of the largest cities in the country by population. And I went to Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, and a few different towns around Japan during my trip. Japan in general is a very modern country, and there's a lot of conveniences that come along with that. But there was still this traditional aspect to Kyoto that I really loved. Kyoto is a haven for striking architectural wonders, delicious food, and there's so many chances to dive into Japanese culture here. From the tea ceremonies to traditional geisha culture, castles, and mystical shrines like the Fushimi Inari Gate, there's just an endless list of things to do. And when you run out of things to do, if that's even possible, Kyoto is in a perfect location that you have easy access to day trips like Osaka, Otsu, Arashiyama. And I just believe it was the perfect home base to really get around Japan. At 32, Marty from Very Hungry Nomads tells us about Sao Tome from Sao Tome and Principe. She says, welcoming locals, lush tropical landscapes, colonial history, and a revived chocolate industry. This hidden gem is quickly gaining attention for good reason. She says that Sao Tome Island, part of Sao Tome and Principe Nation, is a tropical paradise with welcoming vibes and smiling locals. She says that it's a dream for nature lovers and adventurers with its lush rainforest, stunning waterfalls, and superb wildlife viewing.
And number 33, Laura McFarland tells us all about Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Kuala Lumpur is the capital city in Malaysia, which is a country in Southeast Asia. It has a beautiful mix of Chinese culture, Indian culture, and ethnic Malay culture, and also the major religions that impact the city, so Muslim, Christian, and Hindu. It's also a very quickly developing city. They're opening the second tallest building in the world in 2025, the Merdeka 118, but it also has some smaller areas that are really cute and trendy. Budget travelers in Southeast Asia will maybe not love Kuala Lumpur as much as they love places like Vietnam or Thailand. It's a little bit more expensive than the surrounding areas, but still very affordable. I loved Kuala Lumpur a lot more than I was expecting to. I felt very safe. I loved visiting places like the Batu Caves or the Sky Tower, or going to a really cool neighborhood a little bit outside of the city called the Taman Paramount neighborhood, where I found really cool restaurants and thrift stores. So anyone that's looking for a really world-class city should definitely visit Kuala Lumpur.
At 34, one of our editors, Abigail, tells us about Grand Valley, Colorado.
So, Grand Valley is located on the west side of Colorado, almost on the Utah border. And the major towns there are Palisade and Grand Junction. I particularly chose Grand Valley because I visited a lot of wine regions throughout the United States. And I found that Colorado wine is not only incredibly delicious, but I think it's underrated. I don't think a lot of people think to go to Colorado for its wine scene. You know, it has more than 30 wineries there in the Grand Valley. One of the best times to go and visit the Grand Valley is in September. That is considered the peach season in Colorado, and Colorado is famous for its Palisade peaches. Palisade is a town there in Grand Valley. I would recommend going and exploring the Grand Valley because I think it's just a lesser appreciated region in Colorado. You'll see fewer tourists, a little bit more of a local's perspective. A lot of individuals maybe go as far west as Vail or Breckenridge, but if you continue going further west in Colorado, the scenery goes from dramatic mountain peaks to more of a desert feel.
Number 35, Harbor Springs, Michigan, was submitted by our managing editor, Leah Rose.
Harbor Springs, Michigan is a small town located on Little Traverse Bay in northern Michigan. Harbor Springs is just a very adorable, picturesque little town that is the perfect place to go for a very nostalgic, cozy, relaxing type of vacation. So I grew up going to Harbor Springs, Michigan almost every single summer as a kid. It's one of my favorite places on earth. You know, I've been able to travel a lot, but I still say like Harbor Springs is my happy place. Harbor Springs has a lot of beautiful but understated woodland scenery. Behind everything is stunning Lake Michigan, which is kind of at the core of it all. And Harbor Springs is very picturesque in the sense that the downtown is perfectly kept. All of these beautiful little buildings are different pastel colors, and there's all these really charming businesses. One of my favorites is Tom's Mom's Cookies, which is just this adorable little cottage in downtown that sells homemade cookies, and it's just full of little shops like that. It's the perfect place, especially in the summertime, which is the best time to go to just enjoy the lake and enjoy a relaxing vacation with friends and family.
And Leah Rose also takes number 36 with Palma de Mallorca, Spain, also one of my favorite places in the whole world.
So Palma de Mallorca is the capital city of the Balearic Islands, which are an archipelago on the Mediterranean coast of Spain. Palma is a beautiful, smaller city, and I think part of its charm and appeal is that it's not as crazy and touristed as, say, Barcelona or Madrid, but it still offers a lot of Spanish culture and Mediterranean lifestyle and appeal that I think some other bigger destinations have. Palma is largely known for being a honeymoon destination or a place for luxury and resort, but I actually had an amazing time as a solo traveler, and I even made some friends while I was there, even though I wasn't staying in a hostel. One of my favorite places in Palma was this beautiful art museum called Fundació Miró Mallorca. Another thing that people should do in Palma is take the vintage train car to this nearby town called Soler, just because it's a really unique experience. I think a lot of different people can enjoy it. And then also enjoy the promenade. I rented a bike, and that was one of my favorite memories from Palma, was biking along the water and enjoying the scenery.
Number 37, Zamora, Spain, submitted by Catherine.
Zamora is one of my favorite places in Spain. It's about 250 kilometers northwest of Madrid. So by train, you can get there in just over an hour. It's got 24 Romanesque churches. And as an art lover, that's something that I really connected with. I really loved seeing that old architecture. And it's so pretty at night, especially at night. It's one of my favorite cities in Spain. I chose to go there for just a random weekend that I had off. And the second I got there, I just felt like I was stepping into a fairy tale. I stayed at one of the most wonderful hotels I've stayed at in Spain. It's called Hostel Chiqui. It's perfect for solo travelers and very budget friendly. Zamora is walkable and small and is not on a tourist radar at all. So many places in Spain, like Barcelona and Malaga, they're so crowded. So it's the perfect place to go if you just want to unwind and really immerse yourself in just art all around you.
Another one by Catherine at 38, Salt Spring Island, Canada.
Salt Spring Island is the largest of the Gulf Islands in southwestern British Columbia. It is one of the most magical places I've been. Certainly stepping off the ferry there, I felt like I was in a different world, even though it's not too far away from where I live in Vancouver. It's been a place that has inspired artists for decades. And that's what I love most about it is it's got a really artsy vibe with lots of markets and artist studios. And that really spoke to me. It's also a really special place for people who like the outdoors. So anybody who's into hiking and cycling and any water sports, it's a perfect place for that as it's surrounded by forest and mountains. The biggest tip about getting to Salt Spring Island would be just to book your ferry ride in advance because the ferries get really, really crowded and it's really difficult sometimes to get a place on that ferry. So as soon as you know you're going to go, make the ferry reservation. It's just the perfect place to shut off from everything.
Next up at number 39, Franschhoek, South Africa, submitted by Betty.
Franschhoek is one of the oldest towns in South Africa. It's located on the Western Cape, about 2 hours east of Cape Town. And it's actually considered the country's food and wine capital. It has some of the best wine in the entire world, with vineyards that were established over 300 years ago. I think anyone would be dazzled by the site of Franschhoek. It's got these incredible, sharp, rigid, towering mountains surrounding this valley full of vineyards. Their main production is Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay. And you can hop on and off the wine tram to all these different vineyards and wineries and explore the most charming little town. And it's built with gorgeous Cape Dutch architecture. And Safariland is only a 90-minute drive away. Cape Town is less than 1 hour west. Franschhoek is just in this perfect little beautiful spot in South Africa. And I can't recommend it enough. It is simply stunning and it's so much fun and relaxing. And you get to learn all about this incredible history while sipping wine. At number 40, we have Brisbane, Australia, submitted by Laura.
So Brisbane is on Australia's east coast. It's the third biggest city in Australia, and it's the capital of the state of Queensland. I picked this destination because Brisbane is actually going to be hosting the 2032 Olympics. The city is revamping their entire downtown district. They're building new hotels. They've completely redone the international terminal in their airport. Brisbane is a really great place for people that are looking to budget travel because it's less expensive than the bigger cities of Sydney and Melbourne. Right now is kind of the time to get in while prices are still cheap because I anticipate that as Brisbane keeps developing, things are going to get a lot more expensive, especially once it gets closer to the Olympics. I loved Brisbane. There's a lot of great cafe culture, really beautiful parks. I loved the riverbank. There's a gorgeous running trail right along the riverbank with all these beautiful waterfront bars and restaurants. And it was a really great spot to do these amazing day trips outside of the city. Places like the Gold Coast or the Sunshine Coast or Kagari or the Great Barrier Reef are only a few hours drive away. And so if you're really looking for a place in Australia that has it all where you don't need to travel all the way around the continent to experience the best of the best, Brisbane is where you're going to want to go.
And number 41, Vanessa tells us why you should visit Las Piedras, Puerto Rico.
Las Piedras is located in the east region of Puerto Rico. It's located really near El Yunque, which means you get that humid tropical weather all year. There's no luxury here. There's no shopping malls. But what it lacks in maybe shopping malls and resorts, it has in outdoors landscapes and places to relax. When it comes to learning about Puerto Rico's history, Las Piedras is probably one of the best options out there. Its archaeological sites are well preserved, are hidden and uncrowded. So they allow you to learn everything you wish to know about Puerto Rican indigenous inhabitants. You'll enjoy nature, you'll enjoy great green landscapes, a small downtown with coffee shops and a few stores and locals that will help you out to get whenever you need to go. And the best of all, although it's secluded, it's remote, it connects to multiple towns and some of the best attractions of Puerto Rico, including El Yunque. You'll stay in a place that's much cheaper, that will save you money, and you'll be just a short ride away from El Yunque, Luquillo, and Fajardo. So yes, if you haven't considered Las Piedras yet, you probably should be doing so.
Next up at 42, Catherine tells us about Santander, Spain.
Santander is in northern Spain in the Cantabria region, and it's about an hour and a half west of Bilbao. It's a really great place for an alternative to San Sebastian, or an add-on to San Sebastian, because it's not quite as crowded. You'll be among the locals, which was my favorite part of my visit. And what struck me the most was the waterfront area with its beautiful architecture. It's very regal because it was a holiday home for the royal family at one point. Santander is not going to be as warm as some of the other beach destinations in Spain. So a great time to go there would be in the summer, just to get the warmer weather, because in the north of Spain there it can be quite rainy and a little bit cooler than everywhere else. Santander was probably my biggest travel surprise ever. It's definitely worth a visit there for somewhere that's a little bit more underrated. If you're looking for that, it's the perfect place.
At number 43, Chelsea tells us about Bellingham, Washington.
So Bellingham, Washington is the biggest city in northern Washington. And it's such a special place because it's close to so many great outdoor attractions. And the city itself is full of hidden gems. It's only 15 minutes from Araby State Park, and it is close to the North Cascades National Park as well, which is one of the least visited, and in my opinion, most underrated national parks in the country. You are close to Mount Baker. So if you do visit in the wintertime, then you can go skiing there. And, it's close to Lumi Island. You can just take a ferry to like this little slice of paradise. So if you love the outdoors, you'll love it there. I also think younger travelers, because it is a college town. Western Washington University is located in Bellingham. So, that definitely gives it like a youthful atmosphere. Another thing I'll say is always make sure you get something from Mallard Ice Cream. That is one of my favorite ice cream shops in the States, so highly recommend.
Number 44, Dortmund, Germany, submitted by Ruthie.
Dortmund is an often overlooked destination in Germany, but it has a lot to offer in terms of culture, history, friendly local people, and good food and drinks. You can go in mining museums, in breweries, go to a lake, go to the Christmas market and see the world's largest Christmas tree. And if you're into football, there's a German football museum and Germany's largest football stadium. So Dortmund has a lot to offer in terms of destinations and sites. So there's a huge amount of museums, industrial sites, monuments, and it's a very great city in terms of location. Because of where Dortmund's located in northwest Germany, you can travel really easily to other European destinations.
At number 45, Rachel tells us about Saint-Tropez, France.
Saint-Tropez is in southeastern France on the French Riviera. It's special because it's a French Riviera town that has the glamour of the area, yet it also has a small town feel. And the surrounding areas are just hilly and gorgeous, and it makes a great destination no matter what your budget is, which is really surprising when you think about Riviera prices in general. Honestly, I think anybody who can get to Saint-Tropez should get to Saint-Tropez at some point. For hikers and those who love nature, they're gorgeous beaches, some of them more remote than others. There's great weather. You don't get the absolute heat of the summer year-round, but you do get milder wet winters, mild springs, really gorgeous falls. There's everything from local markets to upscale hotels and the absolute, pinnacle of designer shopping. So really, there's something for everyone in Saint-Tropez.
At 46, Taormina, Italy, submitted by Leah Rose.
Taormina is a town that's located about an hour north of Catania along the east coast of Sicily. And I think, like Sicily in general, this town is just very overlooked and I think to most people is totally unknown. I would say that couples, groups of friends, and maybe families with older kids, as well as retirees who are more mobile, will all love Taormina. I don't think it's the best place for families with younger kids just because there are quite a few cliffs and even little shops with a lot of ceramics in them. Taormina is a small town, so I think it's great for a day trip from Catania like I did, or maybe even like a long weekend or something like that. Taormina is the perfect place to go if you want to enjoy the classic Italian lifestyle and beautiful Mediterranean scenery, but you don't want the chaos of visiting some over-touristed places. I think it's the perfect introduction to visiting Sicily and definitely won't disappoint in terms of charming, beautiful little Italian streets and scenery overlooking the water.
At number 47, Claudicette tells us about Cabrera in the Dominican Republic.
Cabrera is a little gem located in the Caribbean. It's in the north coast of the Dominican Republic. It's about a 45-minute drive away from Santo Domingo, the capital. What makes it so special is that it is a peaceful retreat for many, but it also offers some of the dreamiest beaches to play around. Travelers who want to escape crowds should definitely hit up Cabrera versus going to a tourist-heavy
destination like Punta Cana. It is a charming little town surrounded by lush tropical landscapes and amazing ocean views. So I have family who live in Cabrera, and it was always a sweet escape for me from the busyness of the city and the capital. Of course, I appreciate Cabrera for its natural beauty and the beaches and the sense of tranquility that it offers. But I think the stick factor for me of Cabrera is the opportunity to experience true Dominican hospitality. The locals are just so warm and inviting, and they are just so willing to be observant. So I always felt like family and taken care of while I'm there.
At 48, Oak Park, Illinois, submitted by Rachel.
Oak Park is a western suburb of Chicago. It is home to the Frank Lloyd Wright Studio and the Hemingway birthplace, but that's not the only reason that I put it on the list of destinations for 2025. Oak Park is the best place in the Midwest to go for lovers of the arts. The architecture is stunning in autumn, especially. The leaves are gorgeous, and there's a ton of really fun things to do, from the Frank Lloyd Wright Run in the fall to the botanical gardens. So it's a place that I really love. Readers who go to Oak Park should prepare for the weather to be a lot like Chicago. So autumns are crisp and lovely. Winters can be absolutely bitter cold. So go during fall or spring, which in my opinion are two of the best times to be in that area. It may seem like a bit out of the way, but Oak Park is absolutely doable as a day trip from Chicago. Even when just a few hours, you can get there and back. So if you want to spend an hour at the botanical gardens, just get out of the city, this is a great place to do it.
Coming almost to the end of our list here, at the penultimate spot, Cartagena, Spain, submitted by Luis.
Cartagena is a city in Spain on the southeastern coast. It's about an hour and a half south of Alicante. It is a really beautiful city, but it's been overlooked by tourists for a long time. I lived in Cartagena for 5 months, so I got to know it very well. It's very historic. It was a very key Roman city, and there's lots of Roman ruins still there. There's actually still excavations of Roman ruins that they're discovering, including the most impressive one of all, which is the Roman amphitheatre, which was only rediscovered in the 1980s. People who love history would love to go to Cartagena. It's got lots to offer. It's got Roman history. It's got Moorish history. There's some Spanish Civil War history there. People who love to enjoy the sun would also love Cartagena. It's a bit of a microclimate. It's good weather year-round. It's very hot, even in winter. So people who love to go to the beach, who love to have a bit of Spanish food in the sun, Cartagena is the place for you.
And for our very last spot on the list, number 50 is Lugarvat, Iceland, submitted by me. Lugarvat is a tiny lakeside town located in southern Iceland, just over 50 miles east of the capital city of Reykjavik. It offers visitors a natural spa getaway unlike anything on Earth because it utilizes Iceland's unique volcanic features, the geothermal hot springs. And you're sitting in a geothermal hot spring with it bubbling up around you, looking at this freezing cold lake, and there's a massive volcano in the distance. Lugarvat is located on the Golden Circle, which is a famous driving route that takes you to some of the country's most iconic and stunning natural cultural sites, like Gullfoss Falls and Thingvellir National Park. I hope I'm pronouncing these right. Icelandic words are very hard for me. Older people, I think, would really love to go to Lugarvat. It's also kid-friendly, but I think it's more of something that like more mature, older couples would really enjoy because you get to do a lot of self-care things and just relax and spend quality time with each other. It's also just great for couples in general, especially with the ability to drive to all these other Icelandic hotspots and incredible sites nearby. But yeah, it's just such a great self-care relaxation destination, as they say.
Well, there you have it. Travel Lemming's list of the 50 best places to travel in 2025. And wherever you're traveling, remember that we have lots of guides on Travel Lemming to help get you there from our wonderful team of locals and experts, some of whom you've seen and heard from in today's podcast. To go check out the full article, there's actually a lot more detail on all of the places that we mentioned. Just search your favorite search engine for Travel Lemming 2025 or Travel Lemming Places to Travel. There you have it. How you doing, Betty?
I am so excited about this list. Thank you all so much for joining us on this journey around the world. Nate and I are so appreciative to our whole team for their contributions. And we're appreciative to you, our dear listeners. And we hope that you feel set to explore all over the place in the new year. With that, we want to wish you a very happy and safe new year. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the Travel Lemming podcast to stick around for more episodes to come.